What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Melbrook Hound Training and Outdoors. Today we're going to do like a hodgepodge tidbits video. If you've been around the channel for quite a long time, you know what the tidbits video are. You know what the hodgepodge videos are about. So let's go ahead and start knocking some of this stuff out and roll this intro, man. Before I start breaking down some of this tidbit information that I got for y'all, I just first and foremost wanted to say Merry Christmas to y'all. Hope y'all are having some good holidays. And I took a little bit of a break to enjoy the holiday myself, but we're going to get right back to it and start cranking these things out. So definitely Merry Christmas to each and every one of y'all, man. Another thing here too, I want to give huge shout outs to Mike Umphreys, Mike Parr, and Jacob Pryor. You guys have been at the top of the list of the top contributors on my channel since the longest time, right? And I greatly appreciate that. I mean, I've had a lot of conversation with Jacob Pryor. He even is aware of some stuff I got working behind the scenes. So I figured he would be the right guy to entrust with that information. And we're just trying to roll a ball, right? We're trying to get the channel to keep on chugging along. So hopefully we got some really big news coming on the channel here within a week or so, I'm hoping, right? So if everything pans out the way it pans out, I think I got something really good in the works for you guys. But outside of that, I just want to tell each and every one of my new subscribers and my old subscribers, all of my subscribers, thank you so much for coming in, liking, and subscribing to this content. This has been a long year of pumping out this content and sitting down and doing these explainers for you guys. And when we're talking about the explainers in the coonhound world and the dog training world, sometimes it is a lot easier to sit down and tell you guys how to do it than it is to actually get a dog and show somebody, because it's like you try to do one thing and then the dog does something else, and you have to, the way that it kind of plays out is for the dog to actually do it the right way. It's already trained, so then you don't get the training out of it, or you have a video that is time lapsed over like hours or even days or weeks, depending on whatever you're teaching the dog. So some of this stuff, it's just extremely difficult and way more hard to get it on video than it is to actually talk about it, right? So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start talking about some of this tidbit stuff. Tidbits is just like a hodgepodge of information, maybe some stuff that I think I might have glanced over a little too fast, or maybe you guys are kind of left with a question mark on, or things that I need to kind of clear up or address that doesn't take necessarily a whole video. So with that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and start off on the first on the list. The first on my list is tone breaking, okay? So I have talked about tone breaking in quite a few different videos, and I can't even remember which ones they are myself because it's been so brief. I do have my shock collar video that I made, but that is like a very long video, shock collars in general, and I do a section in that video on tone breaking specifically. So one thing that I want to start off with on tone breaking is there is absolutely a healthy, correct way to tone break a dog, and then there is a very incorrect way to tone break a dog, right? The way that I recommend doing this is to make sure the dog is fully aware of the shock collar, okay? We have to have all the three functions. We run through the three functions and we end on the shock or the stimulation. And as a result of this, the dog understands that the tone is going to turn into this, the vibrate is going to turn into this, or however combination that you guys work the dog through it. And what really ends up happening is a lot of guys, what they will do is they will tone the dog and then they will shock the dog on 100, and then they will tone the dog and then they will shock the dog on 100. Yes, that will tone break a dog, but that will also really screw up your dog on for a shock, right? It'll be so scared about that shock sometimes. And some dogs are really ironclad minded dogs, okay? So I don't want anybody to get out here and get the wrong idea. Some dogs will need a correction of that level to get it through their head because they're just that strong willed, they are that sidetracked, they are just operating on that level to where it really is going to take something to get it into their brain to figure it out, okay? There's always an exception to the rule on everything coonhound training, everything dog training. There's always an exception to the rule. Does that mean we go out here and willy-nilly shock a dog on 100 for every little thing? No, absolutely not. But there is instances to where a dog can be so single-minded on something else that it doesn't even care about getting shocked, right? Or whatever the case may be. And then on the same ticket of that, we can have a dog that is so severely sensitive to these kind of stimulations, to these kind of shocks or tones or beeps or the collar or whatever the case may be, that you can really screw a dog up psychologically by doing something like shocking it on 100. So we have to pay attention to what kind of dog that we have. A really strong-willed, single-minded dog that is stubborn-minded. Okay, so dogs will stub up on you, right? So you can shock a dog and it'll just look at you, and shock it and it'll look at you, shock it and it'll look at you, and keep upping it and upping it and upping it. And some dogs will just sit there and just look at you and go, you're not doing anything to me, right? It's not bothering me at all. So when I want to address there with the tone breaking and that whole idea on the shock collar is the way that I always judge the shock collar and judge the corrections for the shock collar is that the dog is going to get exactly what it's giving. Okay, so the reaction that it's giving to me is the reaction that's going to dictate what it actually needs for itself. And to break that down even a little bit more, let's say our dog is looking at us from maybe like a 30-yard stand and it just bolts off when we call it. And it just looks at you and goes, yeah, I'm not listening to you, and I'm booking it, right? That dog is going to get a lot higher stimulation to get corrected back, okay? And also, if we are tone breaking, the tone would come first, okay? So the tone would come first, and then the dog will get a correction. So we can go through it. Tone, correction, tone, up the correction, tone, up the correction, tone, up the correction. And ultimately, a dog who will stub up against you will probably do this only one time, and then the next time it will be a super easy handling dog. Stubborn dogs tend to be stubborn to spite their own face, right? So stubborn dogs will be stubborn even though they know that the choice that they're making is causing them this hardship. But the next day, even, or the next time that they are faced with that same choice, they will choose to not be stubborn, right? So it is very keen and very important to make it known when that stubborn streak shows that it will not be tolerated. And the next time the dog is faced with that option, it will take the easier option because it has been made so difficult on the stubborn side of the thing. Okay, so this can go along with all kinds of things, leash breaking, tone breaking, all them different kind of things, right? So dogs that just want to sit down and plant themselves, you have to drag them to try to get them to get leash broke. I am very, very pro in my mind, and it makes a lot of sense to me to communicate to a dog on the same level that they are communicating back, right? So you are disrespecting me this much, this is how much correction that you're getting. This is how stubborn you're being, this is how much correction you're getting. The more stubborn and the more less pliable and the more less that you are willing to do, the bigger correction, the more that we are getting towards that way of you're falling in line, you're doing what you're supposed to do, the less of a correction that you're going to get. And you're going to wean yourself to learn this way means more, this way means less. Stubbing up means more, not being stubborn means none, right? So we have that scale and that gradient. Some dogs will reach the threshold very quick and they will just quit their stuff and they'll be fine and they'll give it up and say, okay, I'm not going to be stubborn. I don't want that anymore. So we have to be aware of that kind of thing. So the tone breaking idea is the dog needs to be aware what it can get to if it does not comply with the tone. It is not to jump from the tone to the most extreme, right? So I've talked about it in the shock collars video. Find a level, start at the level. The dog doesn't react to the level or won't recall to the tone, off that level, up the level, up the level, up the level. Once the dog does return, we can bring the level back down, right? We're not always operating at this level. And some dogs will be very excruciatingly stubborn over extended amounts of time when it comes down to this. So per se, let's say we have a dog that we know that it puts a shock collar on, we put it in the pen, it will not bark because it has a shock collar on. You leave that shock collar on it for a day or two, it will bark. And the more times that it does not get corrected for barking, the more times that it's going to bark with the shock collar on. And what a dog will do is force you to correct it on a high level. It'll shut up for a day, and then it will slowly creep back in, and you have to correct it again, and it'll slowly creep back in, and you'll just never rinse this process out of them without kind of basically putting a dog to kaput, which is a easy thing to do with the shock collars. So that is kind of like tone breaking and shock collars in a nutshell. I've talked about it quite a lot on the channel, but probably not that in depth on this type of capacity relating directly to tone breaking. So another thing here that I wanted to talk about, and I think it's a good one to talk about right after the tone breaking, is demeanor. Okay, so a dog's demeanor is going to tell you everything that you need to know about that dog. What is the outlook of that dog's attitude? Is that dog a mopey dog? Is that dog a sad dog? Is that dog a mad dog? Is that dog a happy-go-lucky dog? Is that dog a dog that is all about business? Does it want to play all the time? The demeanor of that dog is going to get you the farthest, most best information that you can possibly receive from a dog. And we can mold a dog's demeanor, right? So if we understand that the way that we do our dog, the way that we treat our dog is the demeanor that the dog is going to output back. Okay, so if we are going to be a nice, easygoing guy and fair in that whole sense, the dog should have a very upbeat, very I would say not so much innocent, but a more of a frolicky kind of attitude about it, where it's up and it's more, it's more free caring of a dog, right? Is that always the best when we're trying to whip them into shape and get them to be serious and things like that? No, but for the overall arc of the entire thing, to have a dog with a positive outlook as a mental status all the time is a good thing to shoot for. It's a good thing to go for, and how we can develop that is also with the shock collar, or with how we treat our dog. The more that you're going to be this way, the more worse it's going to get for you. The better that you are, the easier going it is for you. And what you will find is a dog will find a very nice ebb and flow, and it will live right in that sweet spot to where it is constantly just kind of on the same page as you, and it is always constantly kind of aware of what's going on and in tune with what you have going on. And if your dog has a healthy respect for you, it will not disrespect you. And if the dog has, you know, no respect for you at all, the dog's gonna do whatever it wants to. So we have to draw the line in that area. So demeanor will get you a lot of places a lot quicker than if we have a dog with a very bad demeanor. Okay, so a bad demeanor doesn't only mean aggressive, right? We can have a, like I said, a more sad, a more mopey, a more aloof, a more any type of mood that you think that a person can have, a dog can also have that type of mood reflected in its attitude and its personality, right? So if we have formed a dog from a pup to be a positive outlooking dog, it's going to be so much easier and more upbeat and a lot easier to accomplish things than it is if we have constantly kind of went against the grain of the dog itself, not let it be kind of a dog, locked it in its little bracket to where it's having issues all the time, and it's just not having a very good positive outlook. So demeanor goes a long ways in that sense.